Coastal flooding. Impacts. Remember, climate change is causing sea levels to rise and storms to occur more frequently. A storm surge, which is a short-term increase in sea levels during storms, alongside higher sea levels are leading to more coastal flooding, particularly on low-lying land. It is estimated that over 400 million people are living in areas of coastal flooding. These areas are popular due to the economic and recreational opportunities available at the coast. However, this means there is a very large global population vulnerable to the problems associated with coastal flooding. The impacts of sea level rise on the coast can be significant. For example, it can cause cliffs to be undercut more easily. This can lead to cliff collapse and retreat. This is common in areas like the Holderness Coast, in the northeast of England. This area is dominated by less resistant rock, which becomes saturated and erodes easily. Storm surges can cause significant damage and even loss of life. This is despite them being short-term, generally lasting from a few hours to a few days. However, they can reach up to 3 metres in height. In January 1953, a storm over the North Sea caused a storm surge which coincided with a spring or very high tide. Despite being forecast, lack of preparation and poor warning systems meant impacts were severe. This photo shows flooding in Harwich, a coastal town in the southeast of England, that was affected by this flooding event. As a result of this storm surge, considered the worst natural disaster in UK history, around 2,500 people were killed along the North Sea coastline. The flooding also damaged many homes and businesses. The storm caused £50 million worth of damage, or over £1 billion at today's prices. This image shows a park filled with caravans in Harwich, where people who were displaced were temporarily moved to. As a response to the 1953 storm surge, the UK government invested in improved sea defences and more effective warning systems. This included the Thames Barrier in London, which was built in the 1980s. It spans the width of the River Thames at Woolwich and has so far protected 1.4 million Londoners from flooding. Additionally, it is estimated that it has prevented £320 billion worth of damage from over 100 tidal floods. However, due to rising sea levels, some predict it may need to be replaced by 2070, as floods will then breach the defences. More recently, in December 2013, a storm surge hit the east coast of England. This resulted in thousands of residents being evacuated due to the risk of flooding. In Norfolk, several coastal properties collapsed into the sea. And in London, the Thames Barrier was activated, preventing widespread flooding in the capital. Summary. Sea level rise and more frequent storm surges are causing low-lying land by the coast to flood more often. This leads to cliff collapse, damage to buildings, and can even cause deaths. England's worst storm surge occurred in 1953, when 2,500 people were killed and £50 million worth of damage was recorded. As a result of this, the Thames Barrier was designed and built to prevent flooding for the residents of London.